For those of you guys who are first-time dual enrollment students, hopefully you find this particularly helpful, but I tried to include everything that I wish I could often like PSA to my students before we get started, before someone's having an issue. So we are here for History 2112 with Linear Tech, right? So we are talking about U.S. history post-Civil War, right? So from about 1865 onward. So we're all in Regulus. Otherwise, had it. So sadly, my Snoop Dogg video, which I forgot you guys, and the really good public, tall county Wi-Fi always never lets me show my really good videos. Usually in my other classes I do, because this is the cameo of Snoop Dogg telling you to read the syllabus. Because almost so many problems, especially in the first few weeks of classes when you are trying to figure out what is going on in your classes, what you have to do, what to expect, can be answered in the syllabus, right? So make sure that first week of classes, if you are in my class, anybody else's classes, it's helpful always to read the syllabus in detail. There is a lot of boring stuff. We will go over the more important things on the first day of class, no worries. But at the same time, right, I know you guys aren't always going to remember as soon as you leave my class what we talked about, so it is also good for you guys to review it first week on your own again so that you familiarize yourself with important policies, especially stuff like due dates, policies around late work, generally kind of like what type of assignments we're going over, all that kind of stuff. Along with that, and where you can find the syllabus, generally always, if you don't have a hard copy, is Blackboard, right? So I always tell my students, I think this is helpful, but on the student side of things, all Blackboards are different, right? So you will want to take the time to familiarize yourself with each class's Blackboard. They are not all the same, right? I like to think that I keep mine fairly straightforward. I generally don't have students getting lost in my Blackboard. We go over it.
And they don't open up till the first day of class, guys.
Yeah, so that is another thing. So you cannot do this yet, which I think is unfortunate. But right away on Monday, as soon as stuff opens up Monday, take a look. Our class is on Monday, Wednesday, so like you'll probably be seeing it for the first time with me Monday morning, so that's fine. But for any other classes, right, you will have access to everything Monday. For our class, I'll tell you, you don't need to acquire any extra materials. Our textbook is all PDF on Blackboard, so you don't need to worry about like any kind of thing for that for our class. Everything will be there ready for you Monday morning. But make sure that you know where your other class textbooks are. Make sure, for me, know where you can find the syllabus, find the contact instructor information for each of your different classes. That will just save you a lot of time and headache that first week. And sometimes this makes me sound like a dinosaur. However, like paper planners, some kind of calendar. If you have to use it like on your phone, I know like that stuff is so handy. I don't actually care where you are organizing your due dates. You should have some place to write down all of your due dates for all of your classes, because everything should be there for you in the syllabus, right? So our entire semester is laid out. There should be no surprises. If I ever move things around, it will be like back, not forward. I try to not do that at all. But this is really helpful. And it'll be related to a few other points about good study habits, generally succeeding in my class, right? It helps to have a calendar, not just for the week, but like for the entirety of the semester. I live by my calendar, so it's just a little bit of that there. Otherwise, okay. So you will probably, and you have probably been told this already, but you're probably already tired of hearing it. As a college student, as a dual enrolled student, remember that you are generally responsible for communicating with your professors. And a lot of times you'll be told that it helps to communicate with your instructors. That's true. I would always prefer to hear from my students. However, there are ways that you can help yourself and help me a lot more than other ways. So, just in general, if you have an issue, things that will help you are, if something comes up for you, like a family situation, an emergency, some kind of illness, let me know in advance. Let anyone know in advance. If you come to me a few weeks later and you say, hey, I've been having this big problem at home, this happened, and I've missed like 2 weeks worth of work now. Like, can we talk about that? It is a lot harder to retroactively figure that out. If you tell me immediately, I can know, I can start thinking about making a plan, we can make a plan together. Just sooner is almost always better for communication, for any kind of situation. Same thing, especially like we're talking about end of semester progress things, right? The end of the semester is generally not a good time to tell your instructors that you have a problem, or you had a problem, or that you are concerned about your grade. You want to think about that, be aware of that literally as soon as possible, because again, I love helping students more than anything else. There is just like on my end, once we get further along in the semester, there's not always something I can do. And I hate that, because I would like to help. Other things that will help in general. One, make sure that your answer isn't somewhere like on the syllabus, which is why all your instructors the first week of class will be like, hey, read the syllabus, it helps. You can also ask your friends. I like that about Ivester, that to a certain extent, like if you guys don't know each other now, usually you guys like spend a little time together. It is generally easier in this context for you guys to communicate with each other than it sometimes is in another context. So you can always ask your friend. When something is due, if you don't understand something, anything along those lines. And, in general, this is like a theme in my course, where we talk about how to succeed and how to do well in our assignments. Being specific is so helpful to me. Again, especially early this semester, if we get a few weeks in, you realize you are not doing as well on some of the earlier assignments as you would maybe like, especially when we get to our first test. If you don't do as well on your first test as you would like, and you email me and say like, hey, I'm not happy with this, how can I do better? You will want to think a little bit yourself first about what you did. Because I'm just going to ask you questions like, I can't answer that helpfully unless you tell me things like, well, how did you study? How did you do this? What exactly do you feel is a problem for you? Right? So if you email me with a more specific question than just kind of like a vague, hey, can you help? I have a question. How do I do better? That kind of thing. Are we all good? It's like a preview of the first day where I do a lot of talking at my students. And we'll see on my next slide that like that's not even my favorite thing to do. So scroll here. Okay, so again, so a lot of this we've already covered, right? If you're failing it at the end of the semester, that is unfortunate, it is difficult, so again, catch those things early. If you do forget something, if you realize you have missed a due date after the due date has passed, right, it is very difficult for me to make exceptions to my syllabus policy. That's kind of like the point of the syllabus, is like you're all the same. If I'm giving different people extensions or different people extra time or extra things, anything that's varying from what I'm doing with the class, right, that's hard for me. And it's not because I don't want to help you. It's just that if you get extra time, for an example, it is unfair to other students who don't get extra time or who don't get to submit late work or redo something, right? So feel free to communicate with me about your issues, about if you've missed something. However, just know that most of the, unless again emergency things are happening, a lot of the times I have to tell you, hey, like this is my late work policy, this is my redo policy, right? And I have to do that generally. Yes, and I already gave my spiel about doing better. What does that mean? Doesn't mean I don't want to help you guys do better, because that's all I want to do, but I need to know what that will look like for you. Along those lines, you're probably already tired of this. And this is a little bit more secondhand to you guys as dual enroll students, I think, because generally you guys are used to going to class. Especially here at Ivester, I appreciate that you guys have a lot of support where generally if you are not attending class, someone will speak to you. That's cool for me, because I don't need to do that very much then. However, attending classes are very baseline in terms of how to do well in your classes. If you are just showing up all the time, but you are not listening to words that I'm saying, which again, is one of those things in the first week where right now it looks like everyone's paying attention to me, nobody's on their phone, they don't have their laptops out, because at the beginning of the semester, everyone is like fresh, ready to do good, and we're like, yeah, I'm gonna pay attention. And then it's halfway through the semester, you are tired of listening to me talk. you decided you don't like history, or you're overwhelmed with your other classes and you don't want to be sitting in my class, whatever it is, this feeling of enthusiasm will likely be there. I try to keep it going as the semester goes, right? But just remember that even if you are doing a great job these first few weeks, probably eventually you will get bored, not paying enough attention in class. And I would like to tell you now to try and fight that. Because it will just save us all a lot of problems, right? Unlike high school, a lot of your classes, including my class, are lecture-based. Now that means there is not a ton I can do to, like sometimes you have to hear me talk like this. And you guys have to listen and take notes. I try to not make that all the time. I absolutely, again, don't want to be talking. You guys are just staring at me like this. It's hard to tell if anyone is actually absorbing what I'm saying. So a lot of times we will do discussions. I ask a ton of questions. I like to hear what you guys think about whatever I'm showing you, whatever we're talking about. So I really do try to minimize that. However, like that is the format of the class. To a certain extent, I need to make sure that you guys are receiving certain information from me, and we go from there, right? So that means for you guys, this might not be super exciting for you, depending on, again, how you learn, what you like. But taking good notes is a lifesaver. Okay, and that will look like different things for different people. I have what I like to think are nice PowerPoints, and it is helpful to write down what I have for that. I would also encourage you guys, and again, we'll talk a little bit more about this as the semester goes on, don't just write down what's on my PowerPoints, right? Write down what you are thinking of, write down connections. A lot of times I will often be saying things that are not on my PowerPoint, so all of those things contribute to good note-taking. And again, like I don't like just talking and everyone just staring at me. So again, participation is helpful. And I know like you guys think that too, but often we come to an impasse where still, even though I know that you guys don't like to sit in silence, I don't really like to sit in silence. And then I ask questions or we do a discussion and then we're all like, oh, is someone gonna talk? Awkward. So just in general, again, I try to facilitate that as much as possible. I appreciate students that speak. I like to learn about you guys and what you think. So that will make it happier for everyone, and that also goes along with the fact that it helps you be able to participate if you have actually done the reading or whatever I have asked you to do for said class discussion.
So there's reading prior to coming to class some.
We will discuss that. Some weeks there are, some weeks there are not. Generally, your main reading for each week is the textbook reading. It helps if you show up to class Monday already having read that. However, the work for the week based on that textbook chapter is not due till Friday. And generally, it's fine if you don't show up Monday prepared, like immediately. Again, most the work is due Friday. However, sometimes, again, periodically, I will assign things specifically for class that you will see in the syllabus that I ask you to read either by Monday or Wednesday, depending on those things, right? Like, they're not ever going to be particularly strenuous for you guys. I just need to. We don't actually have that much time together at Ivester, right? Because I see you guys less than my linear tech campus students. So I try to give you guys the materials that we can take up with discussion, right, when necessary. So I'll remind you all of that first day because it is a little bit confusing in terms of how prepared you need to be. But I always let my students know if we're doing something in class on this day, and I need you to read this thing specifically, you always know with enough time. So, and again, this is like first week, my students are always like, Romero, I won't scroll on my phone in class, or have my earbuds in listening to something, or just generally not be paying attention. I pay attention, I'm a good student. Again, that is great for now, almost always someone somewhere will not be paying. So, just be mindful of that. Again, things for my class specifically, other things that just help students approach their dual enrollment classes. You guys have often time here. You guys have a lot available to you at Ivester. I love Ivester. You guys have often, again, time for yourself, so utilize that. You guys have our writing tutors here and math tutors here. At Linear Tech too, you guys are Linear Tech students, so you can schedule with our success centers. You can schedule also like with our math and writing tutors. You guys have a lot that will help you guys.
So if they have a paper or something, can they go to the writing lab?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Again, for me personally, like I'm pretty clear, and you would always want to run specific things by me first, but actually my next slide is about how like class is a lot of reading and writing. And so improving your writing in any capacity by going to the writing center for my class or for anyone else's class, yes, always helps. Just tidy up your writing, if literally nothing else, and often there's more. So take advantage of all of that. Take advantage of the fact that you guys have counselors looking out for you here. The number one thing that I have noticed with my students is that they do better, particularly for my tests, that they study together. I love when my students form study groups. I give study guides, sort of changing how I do them, but I give them, you will not ever be 100% ever surprised almost on my tests. So what is helpful is make study groups, and then you guys can bounce ideas off each other. Again, hands down, my students who study together do almost always very well. So, part of being in college just in general is understanding that you have to do work outside of class. Technically, if we talk about how colleges are accredited and how classes work, actually you should be spending way more time outside of class than you do in class learning the material. That varies deeply by class and by the type of learner that you are. However, you will need to do significantly more than just showing up to class to succeed. So be mindful of that. Don't think that you can kind of skim your textbook chapter, not really pay enough attention. I have more stuff in here about notes. Well, what do I have?
Like 3 minutes.
Okay, all right. So a lot of you guys know, actually study. Don't wait till the last minute. I would like to point out in particular this third point about avoiding assignments because you are stressed. Right? This is really common with students. This is really common with adults, me, in life. A lot of times if you are particularly stressed about something or feeling overwhelmed, you're just like, you know what, I'm just not gonna think about that, I'm not gonna deal with that. Try hard to avoid that. It will just make it worse. Right? If you are stressed about something, just try to tackle it first. As a note to myself and everything else. Okay. We're gonna skip history because we talked about this in my next 3 minutes. We will talk about this on the first week of class, what to expect from me. History is probably not what you think it is from high school, is how we're going to sum up the slide. We will spend the first week of class talking about why that is, and how even if you think you don't like history or history is boring, I'm not saying I'm guaranteed going to change your mind, because some students still think history is boring, but I don't think that history is as bad as you may be going into this class. Otherwise, remember again, you are college students. That comes with a lot of stuff, even though you are also still high school students. One of the big differences is that we are adhering to linear tech policies. My syllabus policies, they may be different than other classes, or especially your high school classes. Particularly with regard to your parents, this is a legal issue in college. I run into this all the time. I'm dealing with this problem right now. Legally, I cannot speak to your parents unless you have signed a particular form that you guys have been told about, called FERPA. Okay, even if you do sign your FERPA waiver, just know that bringing your parents to a meeting, to anything, to emailing your instructor is not going to do you favors. It's not going to help the way you think it might or that your parents might think it is. And I don't say that to me, and I say that because you guys are college students and you are capable of taking your learning, your education in your hands all by yourselves. That's like the cool thing about being a college student and leaving high school and getting to be an adult, is you can do those things for yourself. So your parents are not going to help you with me even if they sign their waiver and you're allowed to talk to me. A lot of you are taking this class with the graduation requirements. Maybe in fact all of you. That's good for you guys to know. Keep that in mind now that the semester is starting. I don't want anyone to be in trouble with their graduation requirements because they failed my class. Okay, but that means not that I have to pass you guys, but that you guys have to work hard and let me know in advance if we're struggling.
Hold on.
Alright, so that's the gist of it. I am really looking forward to seeing you guys next Monday. Thanks for listening. And have fun at the rest of your activities.
Okay, hold on. First of all,